There are so many of us committed to improving the lives of the youth in our communities. The In It for Youth podcast is a place for us to come together, from professionals who work with and serve youth to those that champion issues affecting children, to community advocates and stakeholders, and insightful young minds too. The In It for Youth podcast is a tapestry of voices united by a dedication to youth well-being and empowering the young generations of today and tomorrow. I'm your host, Jamie Gale, and I'm so glad you've joined me on this team that is in it for youth. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. I am really excited to introduce my guest to you today. She has an interesting career journey and is now a leader at an organization that serves youth all over the country, one we have all heard of and respect, but maybe don't know the inner workings of. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I'm joined today by Tracy Anderson. Tracy is the Community Partnerships Manager at Big Brothers Big Sisters of Dane County. The Big Brothers Big Sisters organization is more than 120 years old and makes meaningful, monitored matches between adult volunteers, bigs, and children, littles, ages 5 through young adult, in communities all across the country. I'm eager to talk with Tracy about the goals and the impact of these relationships, their current big push to recruit more bigs, and the work that she does. Tracy, congratulations on all of your impact on youth well-being, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to chat with you. We met about a year ago at a networking breakfast, and I've just been eager to connect with you more. So I'm really looking forward to chatting.
Well, I'm glad you did.
So I think it would be helpful if we could kind of start with some of the basics about the organization as a whole. Can you give us a zoomed out view for someone who's like, okay, yes, I know it's a nonprofit. I know that it helps kids who need it, but I'm not totally sure what this looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think you did a great job in the introduction because sometimes people don't really know what a big is and sometimes they don't know what a little is. And it's just so funny, like being community partnerships and outreach, you almost kind of assume, but they don't know, right? So our mission is to create one-to-one mentoring relationships that ignite the power and promise of youth. And it really is all about that one-to-one mentoring. That's really what's important. And that's really what we've seen make a huge difference in a child's life. So we do create new matches ages 6 to 13. Kids, unfortunately, if they don't get matched by 14, they will age out of the program. So I think many people don't realize that as well. And then, yes, being a big is an adult volunteer and being a little is a child, So we have a wait list of littles and then we have our bigs, our mentors, male, female. I always tell people it's not about being perfect. It's about being present. And really just doing all the things that you love to do, just bringing a little along with you. So, we can, I'm sure, go through like the 2 programs that we have. But, when people ask me that basically is what it is. It's one-to-one mentoring, spending quality time with the child.
Okay. So yeah, you mentioned the 2 programs. So as we're getting an understanding of the organization, what are those programs?
So we've got our community-based program and we have our school friends program. Community-based is when you are out in the community with your little, so you're meeting like once a week, once every other week, maybe 1 to 3 hours. It depends on the type of activity that you choose to do. So, it could be getting ice cream, it could be playing basketball, it could be doing crafts. And for a community-based big, you have to be 18 and older, have a driver's license, auto insurance, have a background check. And then for our school friends program, people like that as an option as well because you actually go into the elementary schools. And so you're mentoring the child during the school year, once a week, during the school day or right after school. So I love the 2 options that we offer. It really just depends on what fits for that person. And sometimes school friends is just a great way. Like if you're not unsure right now, you want to be a mentor, school friends is like a great way to get started. And then see if you want to stick with that, if you want to do community-based.
If we look at the organization itself, Big Brothers Big Sisters, when you say you make the matches, what does that exactly mean? What is the structure of the organization and how does it support these relationships, both at the beginning and over time?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you asked that because I think, again, this is something else many people don't know. So when we match, we take the hobbies, interests, and where you live. So we do that for the big and the little. We try to keep you within 20 miles of each other. I think that's why a lot of the matches last longer than a year. The commitment is 1 year, but, the goal is a lifetime. We love hearing those stories where, they went on college tours and they're still in touch with their little, they've attended their wedding as adults. We hear a lot of those stories. But yeah, that's how we match them. We find things that are in common. But you also don't have to have a lot of things in common too. I think that's a great way to match. But also, I mean, I know for myself, because I have a little, I start finding things that she's introducing to me too, which I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm glad she opened me up to this. I wasn't probably going to do that before, but I'm glad I decided to do it. And you also do get a match support specialist. So this is something people don't know as well. I think a lot of times people think, well, I'm going to just enter the program and then I'm on my own with this child.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not the case at all. A match support is with you the entire length of the match. So the first year, they're actually checking in with you on a monthly basis and with the parent just to ensure that everything is going well.
Okay, so I guess let's dig in a little bit more into what that big little relationship is, how it factors into the little's family. What are all the moving pieces, just so that if somebody is considering, when we'll talk more about your push to get more bigs right now, but if somebody is considering this and they're like, all right, this is something I would like to do, but like, what does this actually look like? How do all the pieces fit together?
As far as like community based, and I'll use myself as an example, I have a relationship with her parents, my little's parents. My little is 7. And so we plan outings like that. So I'm probably getting together with her probably once every 3 weeks, just due to my schedule. And so I have a relationship with her mom in particular. I text her mom. A lot of times we like to give the advice like when you do start a match, if you can keep it on the same day every week at the same time, it's probably going to make things easier for you. But obviously, you can do whatever works. For me, I'm not able to, but if it's like Sundays at 5, that could work for the parent schedule, that could work for you. So you build that relationship, right, with the parent. Like, do you mind if I come and get her on Tuesday, at 3 o'clock? This is where we're going to go. And for me personally, I try to be very specific because, it's all about the care of a child and the
Mm.
safety of a child so that they know where we're going. I like to send pictures when we're out doing things just so they see like she's happy, she's doing fine. Sometimes my mom has actually been out with us.
Mm.
And so I do let them know my mom is here. Are you okay with my mom coming along? Just keeping that relationship open. So that's really what the relationship has been like for me. Communication is key. Communicate with the parent on, when you would like to spend time, what you're going to end up doing, things like that. And yeah, and actually, in my case, because my mom does come into town a lot and sometimes she's with us, I introduced my mom to my
Mm.
little's mom over the weekend. So,
Mm.
just so she sees and she knows what's going on.
It's almost becomes a bit of an extended family relationship.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that. Well, so let's talk a little bit more about the impact of these relationships on the littles, like kind of however you think would be helpful, whether that's numbers or whether that's stories. What is the impact that these relationships have on littles, both in the moment and going forward in their lives?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a huge impact. I've heard stories where there was her little graduated last May. She is in college now, but she was really given the opportunity to learn about different scholarships, learn about the colleges that she wanted to go to, like through her big.
Mm.
She didn't know. And I mean, I was thinking when I was a kid, gosh, I would love to have had a big help me out, like getting a scholarship or something like that. But I remember when I first met them and they were going on college tours at the time. And I just was like, this is so amazing.
Mhm.
But we had them on our podcast and they told the story about she got matched when she was 12 years old. And her big, planted in her mind, like, what about college?
Mm.
Have you thought about it? And really just kind of helped her through that journey. And she is thriving. I mean, she really
Mm.
is. This is her first year of school. And she even said there was no way I would have been able to do this without the mentorship that she had. And just overall, I think we see kids are more likely to go to college if they have a mentor. They're less likely to partake in violence, alcohol, drugs. We have just learned on a national level, they're more likely to earn more when they become
Mm.
adults. It kind of goes back to me saying, we're not asking you to be perfect, we're asking you to be present, right? Because I think a lot of times a child is introduced to someone and maybe a career path or maybe something they never thought of before. Having a mentor is truly about just giving back to the society, giving back to the world. We've also found too, it's just less depressive symptoms when a child has a
Mm.
mentor.
Mm. That's huge. So we've talked about what a big is. Are there any misconceptions about that you and your colleagues want people to know what a big is not?
I think there are some misconceptions. I would say, again, I can't stress enough. We're not asking you to be perfect. Do get a lot of people who say, well, I can't be a big, my life's a mess. No, you were a kid once. You went through challenges. You went through things. It's just about being an example in a person's life. I also think the misconception about being a big is that you're saving someone or like you're idealizing a relationship. And it is a relationship just like anything else, any other relationship you would have with anyone else. There's ebbs and flows. So I think that is a misconception that people, they idealize it. They think it's going to be perfect all the time. And it's not. It's a relationship, and it grows. A relationship grows. Another misconception is it takes a lot of time. I get that a lot. And as I said, like at the beginning of the podcast too, you are still doing all the things that you love to do. You're just going to bring a little along with you. So you really can make it work in your life. And I remember I was approached like 10 years ago before I even knew I was going to work for the organization by the CEO. And she was like, you need to be a mentor. And I was like, I don't have time, And then I get into this role. I hear all the stories and I'm like, what am I doing? And yes, the role is extremely busy, but it fits in my life. It truly does. And so it can work. It definitely can work. And I think another thing that people don't think about either is it gives you the opportunity to be present in your own life. We are so busy, all of us. We're so focused on what we're doing. But having a little has really made me present. It's made me stop and say, okay, I can spend 2 hours not working and walking in the park or, getting ice cream or going to a game or doing something to just stay present.
Yeah, I love that. So you mentioned a little bit about the time before you worked for this organization. I'd love to talk a little bit about how did you decide to get involved here? I know you came from a professional background of marketing and media. And so, yeah, can you just kind of give us a little peek into what your career path has looked like to this point and why you work for Big Brothers Big Sisters now?
Sure. I mean, it's just so funny how you never know where you're going to end up.
Yeah.
You just don't. I did not know what I wanted to do for the longest time. I was never that type of person who woke up and said, this is what I'm going to be. My career path was extremely confusing for me. And I went through a lot. I tried a lot of things, which is great because you just don't know how God's leading you, right? So like I did all these things for me to be where I am now. And I didn't know that. I have a background in production. I have a background in hotel sales. I have a background in media where I was speaking on the radio and I was selling things. And I happened to work for a place that he's actually married to the CEO, our CEO. And so we were working together and he knew that I was leaving the current company and was like, you would be great at Big Brothers Big Sisters. Sandy and I had dinner and she told me about the role, but honestly, I'll be totally honest with you. I did not completely understand like what I would really be doing, right? But I took the role and it's the best thing I've ever done in my career. And this is everything that I've been looking for my entire life. It fills all the buckets. Having that media background gave me the opportunity to speak in front of people. I speak in front of people all the time. It's just kind of funny how these things happen and like selling, when I was selling media, when I was selling hotel, in a sense, I'm selling the program. So it's just weird how it all comes together. I do believe community outreach is my niche. It's my thing. And it took me, over 20 years to figure that out. And then just aligning myself, I think, with a great cause, And I think that that's what I was missing too, is like, I needed that in my career. Like I was doing all these other things and I was good at them, but I wasn't happy. But I think I needed something that like a mission I truly believed in. And so, yeah, I'm happy. I'm genuinely happy. So
that's so great. Yeah. It's so interesting at this stage of, my life, my career, all of the people that are like so truly happy with what they do. A lot of times their past career stops look like a complete scatter plot, but then it all does tie together and then they can find that fulfillment piece. I know that's definitely true for me too. And so that's so great. So tell us, you said this is exactly the right role for you, but can you just give us a couple sentences about what is your role right now? Like what is the community partnerships manager?
Sure. Yes. So I actually came in as community outreach and volunteer manager. My initial role was to really just get the kids off the wait list. So go out and recruit those bigs. And so that could have been anywhere from doing presentations at a business or going to meetings, going to networking groups, tabling at different events. Then it's kind of evolved now. I still do that, but it kind of has evolved now into the partnerships side of things where we have events all year, fundraising events all year, every year. We are hustling out here. And because the program is free to our matches, our parents, and littles. So my role has really evolved into getting those sponsorships, solidifying those sponsorships so we can raise that money and keep the programs free. So that's me still attending, networking events, still presenting, letting people know all the things that we do, but really getting people to want to partner with us and do those sponsorships like Bowl for Kids' Sake or like our gala.
Well, that is a perfect segue because the next question that I was going to ask you was about these big events that you have coming up. You have some really interesting relationships, I know, with the NFL and other exciting programming that you're tapping into. So tell us a little bit about like what creative things you have going on right now and how that ties into this push that you have going on right now to get more bigs.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, we have fundraising events every year. Bowl for Kids' Sake is going on right now. And then right after Bowl for Kids' Sake is the hunt. It's a countywide scavenger hunt and it's super fun. So I really encourage people to sign up. It starts April 25th. It's for 3 weeks. And you can get involved. You can get your kids involved. You can get colleagues involved, friends. Personally, 4 of my friends, we do it every year. I want to be in top 10 this year for sure. But it's like, I'm a little competitive about it.
I like it.
But again, it's like, I love our events because it's a fun way to raise money, But the hunt, there's an app on your phone and we upload missions. And so you go find these missions, you take a selfie, you get points and you win prizes. And this is how we fundraise for 3 weeks. So I highly encourage people to go to our website and register. Then we have our gala, which is in July. It's July 25th. It's the biggest fundraiser of the year. So we get over 600 people at our gala. Yeah. And It's at the Marriott West. And, last year we raised over $300,000. We work so hard to keep these programs free, And, the gala's fun. It has auction items, live silent auction items. We have speakers. You get to meet a lot of the matches there too, which I think is pretty amazing. And then also we do our back to school event, which is in August. People love back to school. I hand out backpacks and school supplies. And then we've just incorporated trivia night in the fall. So we did trivia last year for the first time and people loved it. We ended up raising over $8,000.
Wow.
So we were like, let's do this again because people clearly love trivia.
Yep.
So we're doing it again. So I would encourage people to get involved, sign up.
Okay, so the events are sort of a different way to make an impact on the organization than becoming a big. So this is sort of a way perhaps for people that aren't ready to be a big right now, but want to contribute to the cause to get involved. It's just even if you have no other relationship with the organization, you can do these events.
Yes, you can be a part of an event. That also helps us too. You can make a donation. You could make a one-time donation. You could be a matchmaker, which is a monthly donor. You can volunteer for an event. A lot of times people love to volunteer for our events. So we get volunteers for Bowl for Kids' Sake. You can hand out t-shirts, help with the raffle tickets. The gala, we always look for volunteers because it's a huge undertaking and we offer shifts for people to come in. You can pick what you want to do. You can pick the time that you want to do it. And a lot of times too, people donate their season tickets, like unused season tickets. So that's a great opportunity for matches to get an experience. So sometimes we get Badger tickets donated or sometimes we get Overture tickets donated. It's tax deductible. That's another way to help too. Or if you have space, we're always looking for space to hold an event. So if you have something that you're willing to offer us, there's different ways to get involved other than being a mentor. Of course, I want you to be a big. I definitely want more men. I definitely want more bigs of color. But if you're not able to do it right now, these are all the different ways that you can get involved.
So let's talk a little bit more about that. I know that we were talking earlier this week and you mentioned that the applications for bigs are down this year. And so, tell us a little bit about that big effort right now. I know you have a goal in mind by the end of April. So fill us in on that.
So we have the big draft campaign that we're doing right now. It started in February and it ends April 26th. National does this every year because there's a draft every year. But because it's in Green Bay this year, we definitely wanted to be a part of that. It just made sense. And so 14 Wisconsin organizations are a part of this. The goal statewide is 700 bigs. The goal locally here in Dane County is 100. And so this year, I mean, we're doing good. We're about 80% to our goal, which ends again April 26th. So anyone who wants to apply, please do, because I want us to hit our goal.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I've definitely noticed a fluctuation in numbers. We did do a recruitment campaign last year, which was huge. And again, we did meet our goal. We met over 100, which was great. And it was during the same time period. I am happy with the numbers that we have. I just noticed that things are down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I do wonder, what that could be, just because we are doing all the same things that we did last year. Also, I do want to mention with the Big Draft campaign is that, if you go ahead and fill out an application before April 24th, we will personally invite you to our draft party, which is at TPC, Wisconsin. And so I would highly recommend getting an application in because we are treating it like a draft. I mean, we're going to honor you at this party. We're going to hand you a jersey. So we want to make our goal.
That's great. Well, we will definitely link the application in the show notes so that anybody who's feeling the pull can just click on over there and do that. The climate right now is so uncertain in so many ways, especially for those of us who are in youth serving professions, which most of our listenership is. It can feel a little overwhelming and we're not sure exactly kind of how to make an impact or what is within our reach. And so this is such a wonderful way that we can contribute to the youth in our community, whether that's by becoming a mentor or by contributing in some other ways, like you were saying, with the space, with participating in events, making a donation. And so I love that there's just so many ways that we can make an actual difference right now, right here. And so I thank you for sharing about all those different ways. For those of us who are listening who work with kids or advocate for kids in another way, like I mentioned, we're all looking for ways to make a positive impact. What do you want other people who work with kids to know about the youth that you and your organization support? What would be helpful for those of us that are out there pounding the pavement with our goals and our work to know about the kids who sign up to be littles or their families, or how we can support those relationships?
Yeah, I mean, many of our kids, not all of them, but there's a good number of kids that do come from single parent households. And so I think that's important for people to know. There are parents that ask for specific things that they're looking for. They might specifically be looking for a male big because they don't have that father figure in the home. Or they specifically could be looking for a big of color because they want their child to have something that they can relate to.
Mm-hmm.
I know for me personally, when I was going through the process, I asked specifically for an African American girl because I want to be a role model for a young Black girl to be able to come to me and talk to me. And there are things that we would just understand. Now, of course, I wouldn't say that's the case all the time. I do think like a white big or a white female could definitely relate, or a white male. I've seen it. They can relate or understand. Maybe not relate, but understand. Mm-hmm. So that's also important too. I think another thing that's important to know, which I think a lot of people like in the education field know, is that kids just want to be able to talk to someone. And sometimes it's not a parent. They don't necessarily, I think we see a lot of times you'd rather not talk to your parent. You'd rather talk to someone who's not your parent. And children tend to listen to someone who is not their parent, or just, you want that outside voice. You want somewhere that you can just talk to. So I think that's important to know too. A lot of these parents, whether they're coming from a single parent household or whether it's a household with two parents, they're just looking for someone to mentor and be there for their child, because two parents are working too. Everybody's working, and maybe you feel like, at home, you're not able to give all the time that you would want. So I think that's important to know too. I mean, I feel like in the situation I'm in with my little, I give them so much credit for reaching out and wanting a big for their child, giving her something else to have in her life. It really, really makes a difference. I think when you look back yourself, who mentored you in your life or who made a huge impact in your life as a child, it just makes so much sense.
Mhm. If there's an educator listening or someone else who's working or advocating with kids who has a student or a child in their lives that they think could benefit from a relationship like this, what
Mhm.
is the sort of the best way, I guess, from the other side? We've talked about becoming a big, but how do
Yeah.
you support a kid that is in your life to in becoming a little? Obviously, it would have to come from the parents, but
Yes.
what I guess what does it look like from the flip side? Who makes a quote right little, and
Yeah.
how do you kind of get involved from that end of things?
So I think, and this is good to talk about too, I have had like principals call me or social workers call me and say, I see kids all the time that really need some guidance. Can I get them in the program? Okay. So the parent actually has to apply, the parent or guardian. So they have to fill out the online application, which takes about 30 to 40 minutes. We have had people call and say, there's a neighbor kid, he fits in that age range. I would love to mentor them. Is there a way
Mm,
that we could do that? We are able to do that just as long as the parent fills out the application, and then they could actually request, this
mm,
person to be the big's little or vice versa. So I think that's important for educators to know too. Like if you're seeing something, also like we do have our school friends program, and it is limited to certain schools, like one city school, Randall, right? If the child is in that school, school friends would be a great option. We're looking to expand into more schools. I do love the idea of school friends because this is where a lot of the challenges are happening is in schools. So why not
mhm,
have a mentor there? And just thinking back to when I was a kid, I would have loved to have a mentor to talk to during my lunch hour or
mm.
right after school, especially just because I feel like all the challenges that I went through as a child in school. But yeah, I would just say as an educator or a social worker or a counselor, if you are able to talk to a parent and you have that relationship with the parent and you're saying, I think your child would benefit greatly from this program, I encourage you to apply. I mean, I would highly recommend that.
Are there any sort of criteria beyond the age that the child needs to meet to qualify to become a little? Who is and who is not a right candidate for this?
Ages 6 to 13, any race. I would say a great candidate is a parent that is able to communicate because it really does make a difference when you're trying to make plans with the child and
Mhm.
you want things to go smoothly. So being able to figure those things out, I think is essential. I think that what's great is our process is just so thorough. And so you go through an interview process as well. And that's where you are asked, your hobbies, interests, where you live. And then you are asked questions of things that you feel comfortable with or you don't feel comfortable with. If there's an autistic child, if there are certain behavioral things going on, these are all times to be honest and upfront about the things that you do feel comfortable with or you don't. And I encourage both the person that's applying to be a big and the parent to do the same. A
Mhm.
parent might specifically want someone who would be good with an autistic child or something too. So the main criteria would be the age range and just having that good communication between the parent and the big, and then just being completely honest on both parts because we want to make matches that last hopefully for a lifetime.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and if you don't feel comfortable with something, it's okay to say that.
And better to say it, right? Like, it's
Oh,
in
absolutely.
a different setting, but same exact idea. One of my work programs is that I'm a director of a summer camp and an after-school program, and this is something that, we are constantly working with the parents of our students to do is to just tell us upfront what the things are about your
Yes.
kids. What are their
Yes.
strengths? Where do they need support? And we've gotten more explicit about the questions that we ask, not as a screening tool, but more as just a way to set everybody up for success. And
Right.
so even on our registration now, we're like, we ask very specific questions. And so by having those sort of honest discussions, even as a parent, when I'm signing my kid up for something, like this is what my kid needs. And I'm not judging you if you can't give it to them, but I don't want to send them somewhere where it's not going to be a relationship set up for success. So I guess that would
Yeah.
be my second your motion on being super
Yes.
honest and upfront, whether you're the adult that's providing the service or whether you're the parent signing your child up.
Yeah. No, I think you put that really well. It's screening, right? That's all it is. It doesn't mean that you're not a good fit. It just means that you both are saying, what is going to work best for you. So this is a healthy match. Some people would be fine dealing with certain things and others wouldn't. There's nothing wrong with that. And I
Mhm.
think, again, as honest as you can be, the minimum commitment is a year, but it'll last a lifetime if you just
Find that healthy match. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So you mentioned your podcast. So tell us about that. Where can people find it? What is it called? So everybody can go and subscribe and listen to it.
Yeah, so it's our first podcast. It's called The Big Difference. We launched it in February and it's been great. I love it. I'm actually the host of it. And we've had some really fun guests on so far. So we've had, the first episode was with our CEO, Sandy Morales, and then with a former Little, who has now become a board member, and he's very actively involved with the organization. It's definitely what you want to see, right? I mean, he's giving back to the program. He has his own family, Joe McGonigal. So I think that was a really fun first episode, but we've had board members on who just talk about why they're involved. We've had matches on. We have a match that was on that they were matched when she was 12, and now she's about to graduate from college. And so that's always fun to hear too. We've had Travis Beckham on our latest episode, an NFL, former Badger, NFL player, Super Bowl champ. He's actually been an ambassador for us for the big draft. He's been amazing. He's been at all the events. He will be at the big draft party at TPC Wisconsin on April 24th. So he just is very involved. He actually just applied to be a big himself, which is amazing.
Awesome. Yeah.
So, I mean, it was just great to have him on because he can really relate to growing up as a child, having adversity and overcoming it and talking about that and how now he gives back because of that. And the little that gets him, they're just going to be so how cool.
Right.
I mean, how cool.
So cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
You can find us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube. So all the things.
All right, Tracy, I always ask the same question at the end of every episode. And that is, if you could wave a magic wand on behalf of kids in 2025, what would you wish for them and what messages would you tell them?
Oh, gosh. That's a good question. What would I wish for them in 2025? Well, that they have a mentor in their life. And it doesn't even have to be through the program. I wish that they have some kind of mentor in their life. And so that could be a teacher, it could be a cousin, it could be an uncle. I think it's just so important for a child to have that mentor, to have somebody. It truly changes, I think, the direction your life is going to go in. So that would be my wish for 2025.
Well, I love that so much. Thank you so much for sharing all of these great pieces of information. I learned a ton about your organization and I'm feeling very motivated to get involved. So thank you so much for sharing. And I really appreciate you being here. Can you tell listeners where they can find you, if they want to reach out, if they have questions, if they want to sponsor something, if they want to become a big, what is the best way to get in touch with you and the organization?
Yeah, well, you can go to our website, bbbsmadison.org. We're all over social media, so you can find us on Facebook, Big Brothers Big Sisters of Dane County. You can find us on Instagram, BBBS Dane Co. We're on LinkedIn. We're everywhere. So I would highly recommend you heading to the website. And like you said, if you have questions, call us, email us. We're happy to talk to you.
Awesome. Well, we will link that in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining me and for being in it for youth, Tracy. And to all the listeners, thank you for listening. We'll be back next time with another inspiring interview. In It for Youth is a Lit Path Studios production. Music is by Inspiring Audio and Pond 5. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And to learn more about this show and all other shows on the network, visit www.litpathstudios.com.